Hello, YouTube. Some of you have heard about Paleolithic Venuses with their very magnificent forms. Well, in this video today, you can see an example of the Russian Venus, a Neolithic one and a very slender. So elegant that she was nicknamed after the famous ancient Egyptian queen, Nefertiti. Among the exhibits of the archaeological and ethnographic exhibition Dreams of Siberia in the Moscow's Historical Museum, this small statuette was on display and very easy to miss, but of course it was not worth skipping. It's not only an important historical monument, so to say, but also a visual masterpiece of which there are very few in Russia and the world. So, Kandon Nefertiti, what was it good for? And why was it necessary to know about? This is a small figurine, only 11 centimeters tall, sculpted from clay and then fired. This is a more sophisticated manufacturing technique than the much earlier Paleolithic figurines carved from stone. The statuette was found in the 1960s in the Khabarovsk territory, near the village of Kandon, by the famous Soviet archaeologist and ethnographer Alexei Kladnikov. He described this discovery very poetically because he is generally a great writer. Not just a generalized ethnic image of a woman, of an ancient people emerges from the haze of centuries, but rather a portrait image of her. The Neolithic sculptor, with an amazing sense of reality and sincere warmth, conveyed the features of a certain human face in clay. The first thing that catches the viewer's eye is, of course, the gently outlined wide oval of the face with the wide and convex cheekbones, usual for the Northeast Asians. Then a miniature chin and the same miniature, surprisingly convex, outstretched lips. The nose is just as remarkable, narrow and long, just like that of the North American Indians. Exaggeratedly narrow and long eyes in the form of arched slits, deeply cut into the soft plastic clay. Perhaps the most unexpected thing about the Kandon statuette is the slight tilt of the head and the thin, fragile neck forward to the viewer. He immediately reminded us of something as close as it was far away. It is the famous Egyptian queen. At the same time, she received the name Amur Nefertiti from the excavation students. How is the Kandon Nefertiti, also known as the Amur Nefertiti, also known as the Amur Venus, valuable for culture and history? Not only Russian, of course, but the global one. The age of the Kandon Nefertiti, according to the most current dating in the catalog of the exhibit Dreams of Siberia, is the 4th to 3rd millennium before Common Era. It was created by the indigenous people of the Amur region. And I have other videos about the Amur region, of course, about the paranormal aspects of the area, and I have more in mind. Very, very interesting place. There are a few artifacts that tell about this period of time and about these ancient tribes, which makes it unique. It is also a very early example of ceramic production in the region. Besides, she's just beautiful. The Amur Nefertiti of the Kandonians, she looks like an Indian, meaning native to the Americas. Look at the statuette. Remojada sculpture, Mexico, from 6th to 9th centuries, when it was created, at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York. But I think the Siberian one looks more mystical. Moreover, continuing about our views about the problems of modern sculpture, in order to understand its beauty and grace, one must have a sufficient level of abstract thinking. That is, it proves that its creators in the 4th to 3rd millennia before Common Era had a more developed brain and taste than many customers of the current urban sculpture in Russia and in the West. And I'm referring to the modern art. At the exhibition Dreams of Siberia, the statuette is displayed in a glazed showcase, and next to it, 2 tactile copies, in real size and enlarged. As befits beautiful, mysterious finds, it entailed a trail of conspiracy, suspicions of forgery, and so on. Like they couldn't produce this millennia ago. Yeah, the ancient people could not have done such a thing. Yeah, right. Well, this is a normal concomitant circumstance for any cool exhibit. The Museum of the History and Culture of the Peoples of Siberia and the Far East in the city of Novosibirsk in Siberia keeps the Kondon Nefertiti and is rumored. It's not easy to find it in the permanent exhibition. What do we know about Siberia? It is big, mysterious, and cold. Even those of you who have been to this vast region are unlikely to be familiar with all its secrets. And my references go back decades ago and to my father, who had served in the Soviet military in the area and told me so many things about Siberia, and of course my own research. Well, scientists and researchers have looked for riddles of ancient civilizations of Siberia for more than 100 years. I also have a playlist of my videos on the subject and emphasize how many enigmas of history and paranormal phenomena are embedded in the soil of Siberia or found in its impenetrable forests. From the fall of 2022 and through early 2023, there was a fascinating exhibit in Moscow, or an exhibition that few people noticed. It was hardly promoted, and many people found out about it by accident. But I have heard that this was a wonderful, wonderful exhibition. It is strange that few people have heard about the Dreams of Siberia, but somehow it was passed by many. Few people noticed it, unfortunately, because Dreams of Siberia is not only about history and not only an exhibition. It not only shows the cultures that existed on the territory of Siberia in the first centuries of the Common Era, but also creates an atmosphere, an infrequent phenomenon for museum, certain atmospheres. And by the way, by the dream here refers to a series of thoughts, images, or emotions occurring during sleep. Visiting Dreams of Siberia was described as a kind of mystical experience, contact with the collective unconscious, that is, how the play of light and shadow works in combination with ritual music and singing of shamans. 7 Russian museums, local history and ethnography, as well as the Institute of Archaeology and Ethnography of the Siberian branch of the Russian Academy of Sciences, the Institute of the History of Material Culture, and the Art Fund of Dasha Namdakov, a contemporary artist and sculptor, participated in the organization of Dreams of Siberia. The Tavolga Foundation also participated in the creation, which is engaged, by the way, that entity, among other things, in archaeological excavations and support for researchers in this field. Very laudable. Very, in my opinion. This should be promoted more. It took 2 whole years to prepare the Dreams of Siberia. Unique finds were collected there. Some of them have never left their region. and some have been discovered quite recently. For example, the figure of a deer in the hemisphere was unearthed in 2021 in the Republic of Khakassia, another place I told you a lot relatively about, and you can find my videos about some very strange events that took place there and strange phenomena. But the find dates back to the 7th to 5th century before Common Era. The Tagarian archaeological culture, Saragassian stage of it. The organizers talked about their exhibition like this. The exhibition will tell about the ancient and medieval past of Siberia and the Far East. The exposition is designed to be immersive and is notable for the fact that for the first time, archaeology, modern art, and advanced exposition technologies will be combined in it. All this will allow you to tell in an unusual and vivid way about the culture of the regions located along the route of the Trans-Siberian Railway, as well as immerse the viewer in the narrative as much as possible. Visitors will have an exciting journey through time and space, through the forest, mountains, steppes, filled with architectural and sculptural forms, as well as images of indigenous people. There'll be artifacts from the Neolithic era, zoomorphic, images of the Iron Age, amazing compositions of the Permian animal style, weapons and ceramics, ancient masks, and life-size copies of millennial stone stelas. And the purpose of the exhibition, they also exist, is stated like this: to show Siberia through the prism of its ancient past and modern images, emphasizing the mosaic and at the same time the interconnectedness of cultural traditions, and thus to remind the viewer of a huge part of our country which lies in Asia, beyond the stone belt of the Ural Mountains. And by this fact, it has been pushed out of the conscience of the majority of residents of the European part of Russia into the space of the unconscious. A curious remark, of course, Siberia is so far from the inhabitants of European Russia that it has already gone into the unconsciousness. It is like another country about which the residents of Moscow know almost nothing. Maybe the names of large Siberian cities, and that's about it. Some people know more about Germany or Great Britain than they do about Siberia, and I'm talking about the Russians. Much less would they know of culture that existed in Siberia until the locals were conquered by the Muscovite conquistadores and converted to Christianity. The organizers, realizing that they have few artifacts of the periods to show, decided to conquer the audience with a dense atmosphere. It seemed to those who attended that they did not come to the exhibition, but to the attraction like Fear Room or Chamber of Horrors. It was not done intentionally to frighten the visitor, but at first they still felt uncomfortable. The lights are dimmed, ethnic music does not stop, huge demons, anthropomorphic animals, and ancient glowing writings are everywhere. Almost all of them are works by contemporary artists, Dasha Navdakov, Oleg Komarov, who are inspired by the history and culture of Siberia. In the semi-darkness, with rare patches of light and a glowing tiger in the third hall, their work makes a strong impression. A competent organizer can sometimes create something similar to magic. Dreams of Siberia play, among other things, on the viewer's imagination, on his or her fear of darkness and sudden light, on the fear of monotonous sounds, the origin of which he does not understand, on the unconscious fear of demons and gods, whom mankind has worshipped and sacrificed to since ancient times. Turn on the lights and turn off the music, and the exhibition will lose 80% of its charm. At Dreams of Siberia, you understand how important it is sometimes to make a show out of the ordinary exhibition. Not many people decide to do so. Perhaps the main and perhaps the only complaint that I've heard expressed by the attendees, to those who came to the exhibition, it had to do with the lack of historical material. Maybe 20% of the space is allocated to original artifacts. These are mostly small finds that are carefully hidden behind glass. Bronze slash plates from 8th to 9th centuries Common Era, a bronze axe from the early Iron Age, open work images of animals, real and fictional, also made of bronze. Some artifacts were never brought to Moscow, so tactile copies were made. It is indicated above that the original is kept in one of the Russian museum above the exhibit. They made large copies of the smallest exhibits. The originals from the based on the originals, and you can even touch those copies. Each exhibition had special objects like this sword idol belonging to the 5th to 3rd century before Common Era. Surprisingly, the find in the Irkutsk region turned out to be completely accidental. A layer of soil fell off from a giant cliff along the northwestern side of the Baikal Depression, the Obrochovsky discharge. Someone was walking past and picked up a protruding piece of iron. Yet another mystery of the Baikal territory. There's so many that pertain to that strange lake, Baikal. The researchers write carefully about the origin of the idol, a variety of local antiquities with signs of Scythian culture. But look at this, how interesting. This unknown people prayed to the instrument of violence. The sword itself weighs about 3 kilograms and consists of 3 parts. Also, decorative tip of the neck torque made from wood from the 5th to 3rd centuries before Common Era, the Pazyryk culture. By the way, a torque is a large, rigid or stiff neck ring in metal, made either as a single piece or from strands twisted together. Well, that torque was found in the Ust-Kaksinsky district in the Altai Republic. Siberia is the backyard and gateway of the entire great Eurasian civilization at once. Here, as it should be, the ancients stored and mined valuables, fought among themselves, and intertwined genes, intermarried. They hid or fled there, and also they came from there, from Siberia. Such, for example, were the Pazyryk people, the most ancient Siberian Scythians. They seem to have Iranian roots and appeared in Altai in the 6th century before Common Era. We know surprisingly much about the Pazyryk people due to the construction of their tombs. A dense log house in the mound collected moisture like a pool, and the harsh climate of the plateaus cemented what was collected into permafrost. All the organics have been preserved: wooden carriages and silk cloaks, leather pillows, and iconic straw birds. And in the 2nd century before Common Era, most of the Pazyryk people left the territory under the pressure from the Huns. In many cultures, God is, first of all, the giver of goods. Hence the word wealth in Russian. You see, Bog in Russian is God, and bogatstvo is wealth in Russian. The owner of the idol's sword seemed to be making his fortune with weapons in his hand, but he considered it to be a divine occupation. When in the 26th century before Common Era, male cattle breeders of European appearance arrived from the Caspian lands in the same Minusins basin. They defeated local East Asian men, took their women for themselves, and put frightening stela all over the land. I am referring stela to an upright stone slab with an inscribed or sculptured surface used as a monument. This is how the Akunevska archaeological culture developed, and I talk about it in my other videos. Very unusual culture. At the exhibition, visitors were able to see interesting finds discovered in the territories to which the Great Siberian Way runs, as the Trans-Siberian Railway is also called. The exhibition featured Neolithic artifacts, zoomorphic images of the Iron Age, and amazing compositions related to the Permian animal style. I wanted to repeat it. And please understand that much of this refers to paranormal aspects of Siberia and the Urals, which I have described in my videos. I'm not referring to the exhibition itself, because this is not what they were showing, but to my research and the cross-references and connections that I've made in the decades that I've been studying ancient Siberia and the Urals. The exhibition Dreams of Siberia will introduce you to the mysterious history and culture of the regions of Russia located along the route of the Trans-Siberian Railway, said Marina Bondaryova, director of the Tavolga Foundation for the Development of Science and Culture. Within the framework of the project, artifacts from the museums of the Urals and Siberia will be presented. Petroglyph plots will be used. Models of millennial stelas will be created. The design of the exhibition halls will remind you of the diversity of nature in Siberia and the Far East. Visitors will be able to travel through the forest, mountains, and steppes filled with architectural and sculptural forms. Siberia, in the minds of many, is a mysterious, vast, and harsh land which nevertheless has attracted people for centuries, giving them its wealth and filling life with a special meaning. Maybe that's why, working on the symbol of the exhibition, the artist of the project, Pyotr Biryukov, created an attractive and at the same time mysterious female image, an allegory of Siberia. See it in the last photo. And remember the beauty of the Kandon Nefertiti, created thousands of years ago by people we basically know very little about. I'm sure with archaeological advances we'll find out more in time, and I'll bring you more interesting stories about the paranormal aspects of Siberia and the Ural Mountains, and of course Eurasia in general, and other parts of the world where I did my field research. Thank you for your attention to my work. If you can help my research, you'll find the links in the description to this video. Please tell others about my videos. Please like them.